Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Chase Corrington, and this is the Chase Corrington YouTube channel, where we seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, where we seek to discover the hidden mysteries of this reality we live in, the hidden wisdom of the ages, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday we talked about God, and what is God, and the true nature of God, really what God is not. And that's most important. It's most important to get a true understanding of what God is not, because so often we give God these what's known as anthropomorphic or anthropomorphism. We create an anthropomorphic God, which is a God who takes on human characteristics, or we personify God into being some person or being, rather than the universal energy that it seems to be. So, and something I want to add in here, it's important every day we got to work in our lives, ladies and gentlemen, and that doesn't mean you got to go work 9 to 5 for some corporation building somebody else's dream. What I mean by that is, any kind of work, helping people do stuff, or, doing your own kind of work. There's a saying, I think from the Bhagavad Gita, if I'm correct, that says, it is better to do your work imperfectly than it is to do somebody else's work more perfectly. It is better to do your work imperfectly than it is to do somebody else's work more perfectly. And so make sure you're doing what you want to do, ladies and gentlemen. Love what you do and do what you love. Where I was going with that is, before enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. After enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water. So we must always do that. But I'd like to wish everybody out there a happy birthday for this year. Anybody who has a birthday today, tomorrow, yesterday, this month, next month, the month before, all the months of the year, I'd like to take this day, my birthday, to wish you a happy birthday, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully we all have happy, healthy, successful years, and abundance will be flowing into our lives. Now whenever I find a coin on the ground, I grab it and go, thank you, God. This is a sign of the abundance that is flowing into my life. And the more you look at things like that, the more positively you look at things as, just the small things as a sign of the splendor and wonder and, gain and growth that you're having. When you look at these things a certain way, it changes your entire world. It changes your entire world. If you go into the world looking at things negatively, you're going to have a negative life. I don't know how I got onto that. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we were talking about God and what God is not. And I think the most important thing, back to the anthropomorphic God, is that he's not a person. See, I even said he. It's so ingrained into us here in the West, or maybe across the world, that God is some kind of person, and we are not one with it. But we are one with God, ladies and gentlemen. So I ended the video yesterday with, so what of people who claim to have spoken with God? What of people who have claimed to have spoken with God, or have had God speak to them, in a dream or some kind of vision or something? I would, I would not discredit their experience. Although if God is all things, like we're saying here, if God is all things, oneness, then there is no separation between the speaker and that which is spoken to, or you. So if God is all things, and we are a part of God, and it's this universal essence, then there would be no separation, duality, dichotomy. There would be none of these splitting apart, two separate things to do the speaking and the listening, because it all is God. So there would be no separation between the speaker and that which is spoken to. There may be, though, astral beings that can claim to be God speaking and, attempt to trick us, I guess, to put it lightly, or so to speak. But I thought most importantly, I had a personal story that goes along with this. What of people who claim to be spoken to by God? I had a conversation with a family member not too long ago it was a wonderful conversation, and it was so right to this point. She was saying how in her experience in the church, there are those people who would claim they've been spoken to by God, and, or they heard God speak to them in some kind of dream or something, like, a spiritual experience, we could call it. And she would ask herself the question, if I'm being a good person, and not sinning too much, and being a good follower of God, like they tell us to be in the church, why doesn't God speak to me? If I'm doing all these good things and I'm being a great follower, then why doesn't God speak to me? And this is probably another source of suffering related to the misunderstandings of God, the personification of God, or all these things. This is probably another reason that causes suffering, especially with people that are deep into the Christian faith. So she said, why doesn't God speak to me? Why does God choose certain people to announce himself to? And she said it wasn't until later in life did she realize, come to the great profound realization, I think, that we all must come to as one of the steps to activating this true peace, ladies and gentlemen. One of the steps to activating this true peace and happiness is that God speaks to all of us all the time. So she came to the realization that God speaks to all of us all the time, ladies and gentlemen. And it was in the little things, the thoughts or the intuitions that we have, or the people we run into, what I refer to as divine timing, or, what Hinduism and Buddhism would refer to as dharma. Or, it's the little things, the way that your life flows, and the hints you get here and there. It is in these things, the smallest things, your thoughts and your intuition and your, a lot of people will call it your knowing. Your knowing. This is how God speaks to us. So God doesn't choose certain people to speak to. He speaks to every one of us all the time. And we just have to figure out how to tune in, to align ourselves, or to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, ladies and gentlemen. So true peace and happiness can come from now understanding that God is not personified, and he's not subject to favoritism or ego activities, human characteristics, and that he, see, there I go with the he again. Gotta slap myself for that. But this, the Tao, because there is no word for it. The first line of the Tao Te Ching, I believe, is the Tao that can be described is not the Tao, or God that can be described is not God. That's what we're talking about. And all the time. She said it was in the little things, the thoughts, the intuitions, the people we run into. It is just our inability to hear and see it for what it is. She said, then I found out that it was there all along. God's always been there. We just expect it to be some fantastical, incredible experience because of what we're told. Because of what we've been told and programmed with. The great saying, for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, ladies and gentlemen. And that was where the end of that one went. That was these are powerful concepts, profound ideas, and overstandings, understandings, wisdom, the hidden wisdom of the ages, ladies and gentlemen. If you get value from the content that I provide, then consider subscribing. Consider subscribing. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs down. Make your voice heard and share, because in the end, if we've shared, then we'll have something to leave behind for those of us who would take the time to listen and care. It seems like when we're gone from this world, that's when the things that we did make the most impact sometimes. I might be crazy in saying that, but share is what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. It's good for all of us. I've found out when talking to people this way and about these kinds of things, when they really feel comfortable to open up and express their ideas about spirituality and the deeper subjects, people really get excited and have a great time, and it's something we all need to open our minds a little bit more and stop judging, stop being so rigid. I find myself in my daily life now, when I go to judge somebody, my mind pops up and says, there you go again, judging. Don't do it. Don't judge. And it's hard to do. It's almost second nature for us just to judge people. Challenge for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Practice non-judgmental behavior. Practice being non-judgmental. Until then, until next video, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back in the future with more interesting topics to throw your way. Thank you to all my subscribers and everybody who watches. I truly appreciate it.